Hi, welcome back. My name is Brittany, and I have another 5 books that made me cry. If you didn't catch the last one, I'll link it down below where I gave you 5 books. So I've got another round of 5 books that have made me cry. So let's just dive right in. Hoping again I can get through this without tearing up too much. I've got my tissues nearby, so I think I'm ready. Starting off with book number 1, that is One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. The story opens up with Katie after her mom and best friend Carol has passed away, and unfortunately this loss comes right before they were going to take their mother-daughter trip to Positano, Italy. Katie was going to explore the Amalfi Coast, and that is where her mom had spent kind of her last summer before meeting Katie's dad and exploring this magical town, so they were going to do that together. Katie decides to go to Italy still, and as soon as she steps her feet on the Amalfi Coast, she just feels her mother's spirit. She's soothed by the sun, the sand. She's just starting to feel at peace. However, one day, Katie sees her mom, healthy, tanned, and 30 years old. Katie doesn't know why or how this is happening. All she knows is that she's, for whatever reason, gotten another chance, a summer to spend with her mother. And over the course of this One Italian Summer, Katie is meeting the woman who her mom used to be while reconciling this new person with the mother she knew. First off, the descriptions of Italy were absolutely stunning. Oh my gosh, like the beach, the sun, the food, like just all the wandering around they do. It was so lovely. Oh, it just like instantly transported me to the Amalfi Coast. We never get an answer as to why Katie's mom is on the island as a young woman. Like, whether it's time travel or like, I don't know, like we just don't get an answer, and that's totally fine with me. That is what magical realism is. Like, it is this fantastical element within our world, and it just worked. Like, it almost felt like the magic of the island was giving Katie this second chance and like letting her mom be there and allowing her a chance to grieve. The reviews on this book are so mixed, which is kind of crazy. A lot of people did not like it. I personally really enjoyed this book. Katie is a very complicated woman. She turns away from her husband during this time of grief. She's lost. She's searching for answers. Like, her mom was her anchor, like her safe place, her best friend. So like she really feels like she's lost a part of herself, and while she's dealing with this grief, she makes some not so great decisions, but ultimately, like, who cares? Like, we all move through grief in different ways. Was it great? No, but I just feel like the things Katie did and said, like, just really showed this journey of someone lost, and just because I like the book doesn't mean I support her, but, like, it just really showed, like, Katie just struggling and trying to, like, gain her footing again. My mom is very much alive, and she was when I picked this book up. But as I was reading this book, she was not, and that was very sad. I picked this up at an airport. I don't know, like, me and airports and airplanes, like, I don't know why I picked these, like, fucking sad things to read on public spaces, but I did, and I was crying in the first chapter. And it also just got me, like, really thinking about, like, how special and cool, like, the opportunity Katie had to meet her mom as a young woman. Like, I've thought about that as I've, like, grown up to be the ages, like, when my mom had kids, and, like, thinking about, like, how my mom was when she was younger. Like, we will never be the same age as our parents and never get to know them as a kid or, like, as a young adult. Like, and, like, it just blows my mind. Like, that's so crazy to think about. Like, there's this whole other ass person that your parents once were, and I think Katie, like, that experience was just so neat and so cool for her, and it really helped her grieve and realize what she wanted in life, kind of get back on her feet. It wasn't a perfect story. Katie's not a perfect character, but I really, really liked it. I thought the message was beautiful, and I had a blast transporting to Italy. The next one that made me cry, on the plane. Again, see, I don't know why I do this to myself. The Murmur of Bees by Sofia Segovia, translated by Simon Bruni. This is a novel that takes place in Mexico during the Spanish War for Independence and into the influenza, and it is a historical fiction, generational, multi-POV, magical realism story, and it's so good. I mentioned in my other video, Sofia Segovia is 2 for 2 for amazing books and for making me cry. So I just hope her stuff keeps getting translated to English, because her writing is so beautiful. The stories she tells are so lovely. The Murmur of Bees follows, well, really it starts us off with Nana Reha, and basically like the choices that led her to basically be like a member in this town, a member in this community, and like the choices she made ultimately saves Francisco. And Francisco creates a life, and he marries Beatrice, and they have daughters, and they become godparents to Samano Pio. And Samano Pio is a baby that Nana Reha had found in the woods, covered in a swarm of bees. And the whole town is like, ooh, devil child, like what's going on? Like, what's wrong with this kid? Because he's literally covered in bees. And Nana Reha saves him, and Francisco and Beatrice raise him as their own. And we just get like a beautiful like family saga as they go through the war, they go through the influenza, like they're raising their kids and they're going through loss and moving towns, getting rid of all their belongings. They're navigating all these things while Samano Pio is like starting to demonstrate some of his powers. There's danger lurking on their property, like a very sinister danger nearby. We just get this huge story. One of the POVs we get is really interesting because we get a POV from Francisco Jr., Beatriz and Francisco's son. Francisco Jr. and Samano Pio end up becoming really good friends, but we're getting that narrative from Francisco Jr. as an adult. So like everyone's point of view is like happening like this timeline. Like we're getting their points of views as things are going on, but Francisco Jr. is up here telling us what's happening before he even enters the story in our current timeline. So it was a very interesting way to have like a narrator from the future like add in bits and pieces to the narrative. Yeah, but those two boys, they end up just becoming like the best friends, and their relationship is so sweet. They go through some big stuff together. They kind of lose each other along the way. It just ends up being like a really heartbreaking story, but very powerful. You get a lot, like they get the closure they needed. Like it's a very bittersweet end to a lovely, lovely, lovely story. And I highly recommend it if you're looking for some historical fiction. The next one I have is also another historical fiction, and that is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna has definitely made me cry a couple times. This story follows Elsa in Texas in 1934 during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl era. Like so many others, Elsa needs to make the choice: is she going to try and save the land that she's owned, that she's grown up on, or is she going to make the journey to California? Unfortunately, the road to California is not very easy, and she continues to face struggles after arriving. And California is not the promised land she was told it would be. What I loved so much about this book is the mother-daughter relationship that occurs in here. There are times where they are like at each other's fucking throats. Like they want to throttle each other. And then there's other times where like they just like give each other big hugs and they just love each other so much. But like mother-daughter relationships I think are super fascinating and can be really complicated. I like reading about it. You get to see like their ups and downs, but ultimately like I feel like this is a story about a mother who will do literally anything she can for her children to keep them safe, to protect them, and that might even include sacrificing herself to protect her kids. There are some really, really heartbreaking moments in here, but really like the fucking ending is what did me in. It got me. It got me good. The other Kristen Hanna that made me fucking cry is The Women. And this is a new read, recent release. So if you haven't heard of it, seen it, please check it out. This is also historical fiction following Frankie as she joins the Army Nurse Corps and heads to Vietnam to follow her brother's footsteps. So this book was pretty impactful for a couple of reasons. I really connected to Frankie. She is an incredibly likable main character. There's also the nurse aspect that I really connected to. I thought all of the nursing scenes were done really, really well. I don't even know the first time I cried because I cried a couple times. What got me was like Frankie's journey during war and after war. Like we kind of get her whole life, and when she comes back from war, things are not what they seem. Like she is not lauded as a hero. women were in Vietnam. Like, she's literally screaming from the fucking rooftops about how she needs help when she comes home, and no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to address it. She just needs to get her MRS degree. That's what it says in the book, that women were training to get their MRS degree, Mrs., like, to be a housewife. And, like, the rage you feel with her of, like, she's not getting help, and it just, like, makes you so fucking mad. It made me so mad. Like, and, like, it's so nuts to think, like, we obviously know about PTSD now, but to think that there was a time when we didn't, and, like, all of these behaviors were just flat out fucking ignored. Like, all of those things. I mean, Frankie just suffers, like, loss after loss after loss, and it's so heartbreaking. I also got really choked up over the female friendships, and the support the women, out of the book, the women provide to each other. And it's really just about, like, the women in Vietnam and what they went through when they came home. Like, it's just so good. I had to, like, stop and start this book a few times because I was, like, listening to it in the middle of trying to work, and I had to, like, quit listening because I didn't want to, like, go into work crying. That's not very girl boss of me. But overall, it was a fantastic read. Also highly recommend Julia Whalen, who narrates this book, for, like, an extra emotional gut punch. Her delivery, the emotions, like, all of it was just phenomenal. So good. The last two books I have are both by Brandon Sanderson. This one is The Hero of Ages, which is the final book in the Mistborn series. So the series starts us off with Vin, and she's an orphan. She's, like, working for some, like, not great people. She's basically just trying to survive on the streets until she meets Kelsier, and he's got kind of like a band of rebels, and he wants to recruit her for a job. And their job is going to be to take down the Lord Ruler. If you've never read a Brandon Sanderson, I do think this trilogy is a great place to start. He's known for his hard magic systems, so there's rules in place. Like, you learn all about the magic in this world, which is really fascinating. It's a metal-based magic system. So Kelsier's a Mistborn, and he can do, like, all the super cool magic. And we're just gonna, like, meet the crew, and, like, Ben and Ellen. Like, we're gonna just meet, like, all of my favorite people. And really, like, this is actually a reread I finished pretty recently, like a couple months ago. I listened to the audiobooks, which I highly recommend. Those are narrated by Michael Kramer. I've read and listened to this. But my, like, the emotional gut punch I had on my re-listen was unreal. And I was not expecting it when the book was ending. Like, you go through so much with these characters over the course of the trilogy, and at the end, like you have a character who's been, like, searching for, like, purpose and meaning, and, like, and, like, who he is, and, like, he finally gets it. And, like, there's another character who just feels super lost, and, like, they don't belong, and oh god, and they finally, like, fit in. Like, all of the things our characters were working towards for the entirety of this trilogy, like, finally happen, and, like, just, like, what you go through, it's so amazing. Yeah, I fucking lost it when I finished the book for the second time, like, the trilogy for the second time. It's so wonderful. It's so well done. I love all of these characters. It has a very bittersweet ending, but it's still very hopeful. Gosh, like, Brandon Sanderson is just, like, one of my faves for this reason. Because the guy has also made me cry with this book. So, I also really love Skyward. This is his young adult sci-fi series. I also listened to this on audiobook as well. This book makes me cry on reread. So anytime a new novel has come out in this series, I've re-listened to it. Like, I've started over at book one to catch up to the new one. And I can't remember if I cried on my first listen, but it wasn't until I went, like, back through the book, you know, when book 2 came out and when book 3 came out, when I re-listened, that I just, like, I lose my marbles every time. And I think it's because of the hindsight I have as to what happens to our characters. So when we see them, like, all whole and happy and hopeful again, it's just like, oh fuck, like, I know what you go through. Like, I can't. So this follows Spensa, and all she wants to do is be a fighter pilot for her planet. She wants to help save detritus, be a pilot like her dad, and fight the Crow. So we get to watch her, like, basically just get, like, pushed around, shoved down, like, told no over and over and over again before she finally, like, gets it. And it's just, like, so lovely when she does. The part that always fucking gets me is when they line up to do their call signs. Oh my god. Like, and me reading the series, like, I know what happens to everybody, so when they're lining up for that first time, it's just so bittersweet, because I'm like, my babies, you're all together again. There's also a really, really, like, fuck yeah moment, like a here comes the cavalry, like, someone, like, saves the day, and when that scene happens, like, you, as the reader, know, like, how important and impactful and, like, big of a deal it was that this person, like, showed up for her, and you're just like, oh my god, like, oh my god. And, like, in book 2, you meet some more great friends, and you, like, love a whole new set of characters, and, like, they go through it, and it's just like, oh my god. Yeah, so highly, highly recommend these books if you need a tearjerker. Because, yeah, it's really, like I said, like, the hindsight, like, what we know when you go back through that, like, these books really, really got me. We did it. That is it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching me try to not cry. This is basically what this video is. As always, if you have some more sad, tear-jerking books, leave them in the comments, so that way when any of us are sad, we can pick up a new book to be sad about together. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!